it's not as interesting as watching like painting, you know, leather in the light where you can actually see all the different textures and highlights and everything. Gonna be mostly dark, kind of like this. Like there's a little bit of texture, but ooh, I'm bleeding. Oops. I bit off a cuticle and it started to bleed. Anyway. Let me flip this brush out. There we go. So you can see it's a little darker leather if it focuses. Can you focus? There we go. So we get some texture. I mean, I'm just gonna kind of do that. It's not the most interesting. I mean, it's worth seeing a little bit of like how to do it, and same thing with the shirt. I'm actually not, because it's not that bright. I mean, I guess probably gonna be the same because that's mostly in shadow anyway. The way he's like all hunched over, so that doesn't really get a lot of light. So I think that's gonna be how it's gonna be for here. And the autofocus on this camera today is just awful. I don't understand. Maybe it's because I keep flipping from a highlighted side to a shadow side. But anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought. There was the casted shadow we did yesterday. You know, right across the leather there. Kind of fixed this casted shadow. I also went back and fixed it again because I had my lines all kind of askew, but now we got a nice straight line all the way down. I didn't like how these were looking, so I just painted them black again. So got little danglies. We got these leather straps here that we haven't done, but I'm not gonna worry too much about those. And of course, at least today, you know, we still gotta fix this. I'm getting rid of this casted shadow. I don't like it, and I need to like redo pretty much this whole top here. Like I'm not happy with it. So yeah. So today I'm mostly gonna do on stream the skin. We're gonna paint some darker skin. We saw some of it yesterday doing like these shadow areas and like this dark area here. So it's gonna be kind of that. It's gonna be the same process as what I did for the arms here, the front arms, but you know, we obviously aren't gonna go as bright as this, and we're not even gonna go as bright as this. So it's gonna be darker. To that end, we got what's it called? Indian Shadow here. Instead of my normal oranges, I got some darker ones. Like this is burnt sienna from Monument. I'm kind of doing a rough 50-50 mix of Indian Shadow and burnt sienna. And we just do the same kind of. I didn't actually put any Gobi Brown on the palette. I should. Ah, crap. There's a hair in here. I get it on the brush so I can get rid of it. And when you get hairs in your paint job, it's just awful. Ruins everything. I'm just gonna kind of ignore these veins for right now. I still gotta do the fingernails here. I'm gonna kind of do like a grayish orange on them. Sorry, you can't see that. Too high. A little bit over here. I know we kind of already did this, but it's fine. I'm not sure about these elbows. Like I kind of want to do them. You know what? Screw it. I'm not gonna do that. I was gonna do them pinker like I do with like orc elbows and stuff, but no. I don't think that works with this fur. Like he's got a it'd be the same color fur basically, so I'm just gonna it'll be darker, but yeah. That idea was kind of dumb. I don't care if I'm hitting the shirt here. A lot of the skin over here will be pretty dark. We already kind of did a lot of this hand and forearm here. I just want to make sure biceps going. As you see, the light is mostly coming from over here, so this is a lot of shadow. Most of that's going to be super dark. We got this casted shadows going on in here, so we're just going to paint more of a casted shadow down there in like the armpit region. A little spot here. Got to cover. So, all right, now I'm going to add more burnt sienna to that mix. Still going to leave in the Indian shadow. Right around here. Maybe that elbow would be just a little bit lighter, but yeah. And now we move to just straight burnt sienna. And after this step, we'll put in our greens and browns with like the goby brown, maybe mixed with a little bit more green to get some skin contrast. Remember, not all contrast is light and shadow. Also get some nice contrast in colors. A lot of this is super dark. All right. Starting to get some orange look to it while still being pretty dark. Like it no longer looks so red and pinkish. You'll see it's a stark contrast. This side, getting all the light. See when you start turning it, and you can see forearms there and a little bit of the underside, and same with the fist here. All right, we're gonna get a little goby brown. Dropping paints on the floor here. I also want you know what? Let's go. Go a little crazy with our green choice. We're gonna get some Sherwood Green. Possibly. This bottle is it's been well used. There's not a lot left, and what is left is kind of on the bottom. There is a an agitator in there, so we really gotta shake the crap out of it. And then you don't get a whole lot out because you gotta unclog the top. The dropper bottles are not without their problems. Well, Still better than paint pots, though. Alright, we're gonna mix some of that Gobi brown with that green. And then a little bit of that burnt sienna. And I'll just kind of glaze this in spots and create some nice color variance in the skin. Some of it could be a little bit darker. Fine. We'll go a little bigger than it'll look in the end because, excuse me, our next, I'll just call it a highlight color, even though we're not really highlighting. We'll go over it and kind of blend it in. We'll put some over here since this is already our darker painted side, but thin it down a lot more so it's a little more of a light glaze than on the other side. So we're not really going to do any more work on the highlighted portion of these arms. Alright. The glaze is a little bit wet, so we're just going to let that dry for a minute or two. We are now done with the size 2 brush. So our next color that we're working with is Rust Brown from Reaper. Just a second. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, 50-50 mix of the burnt sienna and rust brown, and then we'll do the rust brown by itself and probably add a little bit of golden yellow to that. As like a final quasi highlight. Now we're back to our nice little thin detail lines. See, we're kind of going over that brown that we put in, helping to blend that in. We'll do a little more detail on the elbows just because they're so like cracked skin, and they'll have more brighter lines just to show like all those sculpted in cracks and everything. This whole vein right here. Trying to fit the vein by itself. See how it's looking. I think maybe I didn't go dark enough with this brown in the shadows. So let me real quick just try something. I'm gonna darken it up just a bit. I'll come back over with that color that we just put in. I was just looking a little too bright compared to the orange. Yeah, I'm liking this better. A little darker. Come back with this orange again, and we just go back over. Just kind of blend some of that back in. That's about all that needs. Elbow might need a little bit more work. In order to get all those little sculpted cracks and folds in the skin. Alright, so we know this doesn't need to be as detailed as the front. But I do kind of want to make sure stuff's blended in a little bit. Oof. I feel like I just ran my finger across that axe and might have ruined something. I don't care if I hit the edge of the shirt right now. Alright. Now we're just gonna go with the rust brown by itself. See the difference in the amount of light this is getting. I hope that this is coming across a little camera. Because these lines are definitely noticeable in person. Maybe when it dries a little bit. Get these veins that'll be highlighted, stand out from the rest of the skin. Tiny bit. Getting this forearm because of the axe handle here. Little tricky to position your brush properly. Same over here. Let's start with the elbow. The elbow might be a little bit brighter than the other elbow, just because we have some light right here on the pad, so it might get up on there. Keep doing little lines, just kind of blending everything in. All right, next we're gonna add a little bit of golden yellow to this rust brown and kind of be like a final highlight, even though we're not really highlighting. We're just kind of get some distinction in the volumes. But overall, we're trying to keep this nice and dark. Like if you compare, like look at this arm and then flip over on this arm, see the big difference. That's what we're going for. Because this is all light and this is all shadow. I don't know why. Camera, it was like zoom out a little. Be a little better, hopefully. I don't know. Every day I set up the camera, it's in a slightly different position, and it kind of really bugs me. I wish I had a better camera arm. Alright, we added a little bit of golden yellow to that. Let's see how this looks. And we're gonna hit the whole vein here. There's kind of some little bits of sculpted fur right here on this forearm. It makes it slightly tricky to paint. That's about it for that arm. Pretty much the lightest we're gonna go. Maybe do a little bit more. This hand right here. All right, I think that's a little bit better. Just slightly more yellow. It doesn't actually make it lighter. Just gives a different tone. There. If we can get a, there we go. So you can tell that it's still orange, like skin slash short fur, but it's not as pronounced as over here where all the sun is, or whatever our light source is. I'm actually going to use some of this. Try to work on this chest just a little bit more. Alright, it's a little better. Flip him back over. Now we gotta do this arm. We'll see. We'll start with this elbow here. Like I said, we kind of want that to be a little bit brighter, but not as bright as the flesh around it. But so this won't be the last highlight for the elbow, but it is for the rest of the skin here. All right, that's about it for this. We want to leave those like harsh uh indentations in the muscles. That you see, like this arm pops out a little more, so it's getting a little bit more light. Whereas this, you know, this is the light here, so this should be really shadowy. Actually, maybe I'll make these a little bit softer. We'll go back to that sienna, burnt sienna, and Indian shadow mix. We'll just kind of want to leave that greenish brown visible, which is kind of a soft blending with some lines of this reddish orange mixture. Pinkish orange. That's looking much better. That same thing over here. All right, now we're gonna lighten this up a little bit more for this elbow. Don't want to hit that leather, which I just did twice. But just rub it right off, it's fine. All right, I think for that elbow, that is fine. Maybe a little bit on this side. There we go. Another thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back into these little folds and cracks here and just kind of darken them up a bit, accentuate them again. We'll kind of get that greenish brown shadow color we were using, but mix in some burnt sienna. I'm gonna try and go into all these little sculpted cracks. And then if that got a little too thick, we can just go back over the raised bit. All right. So once again, let's just check our shadow, darker area, and compare it to our lit area. Sure things are reading properly. The way the light is shining, it's like that. Based off, you know, the cast shadows here. Alright, I think that's pretty good. I want to do real quick. I'm just gonna put new paint on the palette for this. It's fine. A little black. A little tan flesh. Mix up a gray here. All right. You know, I had a plan for this gray, and now I lost it. My mind's a little lost today. But I literally cannot remember what I was just gonna do. Oh, yes, now I do. Jesus. Alright. We're gonna take some of this rusted brown and mix it with gray. Get a little more tan flesh in there. Alright, we're gonna paint these fingernails. They're not gonna be like white or anything, you know, fingernails are basically clear. So they just show the flesh beneath it. But kind of desaturated, so that's why I'm mixing gray into the orange. A little more yellow in there as well. Too much yellow. Let's see how this looks once we put it on. It'll dry a little darker and more matte than it goes on, so it'll kind of blend in. And then what we can do is kind of highlight the tips, because they will get a little lighter. If you look at your nails, it's kind of, there's a bit of white, and you can see it right there, right here, and then The tip obviously lighter. That is what we're gonna do. Can't forget this nail right in here. You know, it's these little details on models that aren't fun to paint, kind of drive you crazy to do, but you have to do them. If you're planning on showing these off to people in real life, going to a show or a competition. These are things people will look at. If we just took burnt orange and mixed it with this tan flesh. Maybe a little bit more yellow. Thin that down a little. It's a little too yellowy. Chew. You know, actually, as it dried, it got a little better. Come over here and do this thumb. All right, this down. Get out a little bit of ivory. We said we make it a little bit lighter at the base. That was too much. Just get a little bit. There we go. Hitting this is going to be a little difficult angle, and I just got the skin. I don't want to get the skin. Kind of cover that up. Those can do with a little bit of a darkening, because they're, you know, they're in the clenched fist. Not really going to get light. these ones in the back because his arm is that. I might get a little bit. Just do the got onto the skin at all. We just go back over that. Some of this burnt orange. All right, kind of thin down some Gobi brown. We'll just glaze over these clenched ones. There we go. We got some fingernails that I'm actually gonna need to just glaze over with some orange, but I'm just gonna stop that for right now. We're gonna move on to doing some leather. To start off, we got these leather straps on this arm. So we got some wood stain brown, some Reaper. Actually, just a little bit too thin. I want to make sure we don't hit that skin. We've already did enough work on it. That's good for the base coat. Wanted to make sure every little bit was hit. Now I'm gonna get walnut from scale 75, and that's gonna be the little bit of highlight color. I also got this gray palette, so we're gonna hit these buckles quick. We can do a little more highlighting and shading later. With the walnut, we're just kind of do some edge highlighting and then a few scratches just like we did on this arm here. Not as much work as like bracers and everything. We need to actually just hold the model for this one. It's fine. We're just kind of getting some little scratches and worn edges. A really small detail. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but you can see it in person when you look at it. And it'll show up when we do pictures. Right. The minor details are starting to come together now. It's always a little tricky painting leather on top of leather. Especially if they're both the same tones of leather. Sometimes I'll do like an orangey leather over a brown. But since the main color of this guy is already orange, I thought that wouldn't really work too well. Alright, most of that leather doesn't need a whole lot because it's clearly in shadow, and we're actually gonna kind of darken it down a bit with some glazes. So we're gonna make that a nice dark shadow up there. Really quick doing a few spots of highlight on this buckle. Lighten up some of this walnut just a bit so we can do a little bit more wear over here. Now a bit of black lining. That helps these pop out. You'll get super dark shadows right underneath. They'll be very thin. They will be present. And I'm not 100% sure on the technical term, but I think it's oscillatory shadows. I'm not sure. I might be completely wrong with that. We want to get a little thin, even smaller line right on top. We're gonna do it on here, so we're gonna try. And really only do it on the bottom because this, I'm not sure if it's the intention of the sculpt, but it kind of like digs into this a lot other pad. Oh. All right. Now it just kind of pops out from the skin a little bit. Just thinning down that rust brown. Cover these nails just a little bit more. They'll be a little bit more orangey than they actually are. Fingernails are always a pain in the butt. Alright, now I'm gonna paint a little fur. We got this walnut here. Mixed with a little bit of ivory. I'm gonna mix a tiny bit of this green in. And remember, we got our casted shadow right there. So everything in that shadow is going to stay the same color it currently is. Maybe put a little bit of yellow in there. Grab a little orange. Just to kind of play with same colors we used on everything else. And this fur won't need a lot of work. Not much of it. Most of it's in shadow. Bit of a final highlight here. It was a little much. Hey, how's it going, Clem? I am good. Kind of. I'm actually a little out of sorts today, but getting things done. Alright, I think the fur is basically done. Again, we don't need to do a whole lot of it. A whole lot to it. What happened? I'm just I don't know. My stomach's feeling a little upset, and it's kind of making me forgetful. Focusing on stomach. It's nothing too bad though. All right, I think start focusing on this dark leather here. I was hoping I could finish this guy today, but I started kind of late. I was actually watching the GW reveal stuff on Dave's channel. And all the new models that are coming out. That Centaur guy looks really cool. Some charred brown, and we'll get some more wood stain. Yeah, they're really having fun with their AOS sculpts. And I really like that they're doing more of these skirmish games, even in 40K. Because you get to do like more smaller squads as like completely different things. You know, maybe you're not going to get a full faction of something, but you'll get like a 10-man squad. Because there's so many varied races and species all over the galaxy. Like, already established in the lore. But you're not going to turn them into a full army. But now you can just give them like a 10-man box for Warcry or Kill Team or Necromunda or something. And you just get some really cool new models to work with. Yeah, the 40K orcs are really fun. They get to do a lot of like a lot of playful stuff with them compared to the 40K. Although they are doing some 40K stuff that's kind of goofy. Like they did those like hog riders. Kind of cool. Alright, I know it looks like I'm not really doing anything because it's a very similar color. It's just like 50-50 wood stain and charred brown. That's kind of the theme of this backside though. It will build up some texture and it will look varied in the end, but right now it's very similar. Of course, I didn't want to do a whole lot of highlighting on this back here, but then he's got all these sculpted in scratches, and you have to kind of highlight the bottoms of the scratches to sell the 3D effect. work in some of this walnut here. Walnut's a nice desaturated brown. If I don't finish this guy on stream today like I originally planned, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to, I'll probably just finish him off stream on Saturday or Sunday. It's just the back here that needs to be worked on. And then next week we'll start a new model. I got that vampire bust from Carl Rudock. It'll be really fun to paint. Go back to some crazy non-metallic metal, and I want to do some OSL there. It's got a couple severed heads that well, one of them's a skull and one of them's a head with still has some flesh on it, so I get to do some decayed flesh. Yeah, how's it going, Aptos? Good evening to you. It's just a little afternoon for me. Thanks, Clem. I'm always trying to work more texture into leather. Trying to find different ways to paint it. Ironically, the one leather that I can't really do is brand new, like shiny leather. There's not a whole lot of texture in brand new leather. If you ever look at Lucas Zaba, the way he does leather, it's like that stuff has seen some better days. It's just heavy, heavy, heavy amounts of stippling all over. You can kind of, maybe it's not showing up that well on camera, but there's already like a casted shadow from my light. So I'm gonna try and do that where you can see these little rings are just doing a little bit of extra. I'm gonna try and do that when it comes to that stage. 8:20 p.m. in sunny England. Hey man, it has not been sunny here in a while. I mean, technically it was a little bit sunny on Monday. No, sorry, Wednesday. But other than that, it's been raining like every single day except for that one day on Wednesday. It's rained so much. My street has been flooded numerous times. The drainage on my block is not very good. Man. Yeah, Wednesday was a little bit sunny for a short period of time, but it was like barely over 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll let you do the conversion yourself. Because I don't know what it is. Other than that, we had like one sunny day 2 weekends ago, and my wife and I just sat out in the balcony like all day, and we ended up getting sunburned because of it. I might do just a little bit more of a highlight, and then lays on some darker colors. Or actually, no, I'm just gonna stop there. I'll get a little bit brighter for like scratches and stuff, but we don't want it to be as bright as his top piece here. As he's hunched over, this is much more shadowy. We'll just add a little a little ivory to that, and then we'll do some scratches. Last night I was watching Eric Swinson painting up the 32mm version of the werewolf bust that Journeyman has. But it's like, you know, full figure, but 32mm. Really cool. I love watching him paint. Some of those scratches are a little too big. We'll fix it. Alright, I still gotta go back and fill these sculpted in scratches anyway. This piece down here is kind of just like a tethered leather cloth. This should really get the Zaba treatment. That was too big, too big. Also go back and put those kind of greenish muck colors in there. We did on the leather bits yesterday. Get some charred brown, tiny bit of black. We can go back over these sculpted in scratches, just fill them in. Like maybe I should have waited until after I put the glazes on, but you know, whatever. I'm off to dinner. Catch you later. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Clem. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for stopping by. And have a good weekend. All right. Some more wildwood. We want to darken this down. Again, we'll have to put some matte varnish on this because we don't want this to be glossy or satiny in the shadows. That won't make sense. Waiting for that to dry. Come in and do this piping a little bit. I don't know why the shuffle playlist really loves to find these like 30-second intro and outro songs. Favorite things. straight charred brown and just around these loops, just like up top. It's going to be darker. Also got a couple metal rings here we got to do. They're one of these little metal tag things. I'll get a little bit of a highlight back in on some of these deep scratches. A lot of them that we just put in, we can kind of leave alone. If you look at it in person, not on the camera, not while it's still a little wet and glossy, you can see the color variation in there. You don't want it to be too much because, again, this is all in a shadow. But we don't want to lose all of that definition we just put on there. Definitely want to get back to this like ragged edge. All right. It's good. And I'm gonna hit it with that gloss, not gloss, matte varnish. To get rid of that gloss. You can see it's getting a little milky already. One of these days, I just gotta stop being such a baby and do it through the airbrush like I'm supposed to. Today is not that day. Alright. I'm gonna get some phthalo blue and phthalo green and mix it up. Rid of that bubble. There we go. When I did my painting class, they said the best varnish they found has been the AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish. That's what I heard too, and that's actually what I ordered when I bought this stuff. Was the MIG Lucky Varnish. I actually ordered the AK and they were out of it, and they sent me this instead. Like, it's not bad. Again, like, it's meant to be used through the airbrush, and I don't do that, so I'll probably avoid this problem that I have of the kind of milky stain if I did properly, but it's a problem of my own making, really. I've just learned to deal with it. Like I said, I always like push it into the folds, that way if it dries milky, it dries in there, and I'm just gonna black line over it anyway. Oh, that reminds me, there's a... You just mentioned your class. Got me thinking of Artist Opus, which got me thinking of their painters, which Bolts of Paint is like doing a live stream right now. At least they had one scheduled. I'll just have to wait till it's done and watch the replay. Do you have any more paint classes on the horizon? Now you guys get a little spoiled with your paint classes over there because you have so many amazing painters. Plus you're not as spread out as we are over here. Everyone in my painting class had the Cultivate airbrush. You struggle to find them, really? I guess maybe you just have to like follow all the individual painters and they'll have their own classes listed sometimes. I know Richard Gray does classes occasionally. See him post about it. I think continental Europe gets a little more spoiled. All the Spanish painters love to travel around and do classes everywhere. Oh. We'll wait for the ad. While we're waiting, I'll just mix up these colors here. Let's throw some orange in here. Let's see what happens. Should get a little desaturated green brown to this. And this stuff really sticks into the brush. To do a deep clean after the paint session. Are we we're back from the ads? Okay. You want to do a face-to-face? I don't know how you feel about online stuff, but I mean, a lot of the painters will do like, you know, video face-to-face type stuff over like Zoom and everything. I'm just putting on this greenish blue color to try and like get some muck on the armor, or the, well, I guess it is technically armor, leather armor. I just want to push myself. Well, you know, I'm not here to spend your money, but the Miniature Art Academy, run by Banshee, is really good. If you do Banshee's like stuff, it's 22 euros a month, and you can learn a lot of stuff. I myself actually subscribe to the David Aroba classes on there, and it's like 12 euros a month. There's also, you can get like a 1-day pass for 5 euros, and you can just watch as many videos as you want in that like 24-hour period and just see if it's something you're interested in. It's not a Patreon, but for me, I think it's worth it. But again, you know, I'm not trying to spend someone else's money. Some people I see only do wargaming stuff. It's a 3D print. It's not ideal. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, if you're gonna do tutorials and stuff, I can see why you're gonna focus on like Games Workshop stuff, because, you know, 90% of the people in this hobby are only gonna do wargaming stuff, and that's what they want to see. So, you know, they're trying to maximize their paying customers. But the Miniature Art Academy, like, they're all about display pieces and, you know, miniature painting as art. So they're gonna have a lot more focus on display pieces. Guys from Siege that taught the class were really surprised how I got into painting. Yeah, because most people get into it through like Warhammer or some form of gaming. So when you hear someone that didn't do that, it's a little shocking to them. Like, I got into it through gaming, but not through wargaming. It was just regular old board games that had plastic figures that I wanted to paint up. And that slowly evolved into the wargaming side, but then once I saw a Golden Demon piece from Victoria Lamb from like the early 2000s, I think 2003, maybe 2004, it just kind of blew my mind that, you know, miniatures don't have to be like tabletop standard. That's when I kind of stopped wargaming tabletop painting and started trying to push myself. Alright, I think I'm gonna get some. Let's go deep red. just a little bit. And we won't mix it with brown, but you know, it'll still kind of simulate the blood. Little tiny bits here and there. Like, it's not going to be too noticeable, but when you really look at it, you'll see it, and it'll help tie everything together. Get this little dirty, shadowy look. Kind of got that green, got a little bit of red in there. You know, if it's gonna be like this, I think that's our light source basically. This little corner right here might be a little brighter. I might go over that, put a little more highlight in there. But other than that, I think the shadow itself is right. Like, you want it to be pretty dark. Actually, I just noticed the time. I should have stopped it like half hour ago because I got to get ready for work. So that's what I'm going to stop for today. I'm probably going to do the rest like tomorrow or Sunday, like I said, off stream. And it's really just the shirt and these little like metal bits all over. Like, I got these little metal ornaments, and fixing this casted shadow. I'm getting rid of the casted shadow on there. And other than that, that's everything else is done. Looks so epic though. Thank you very much. If I finish it on Saturday, I should have like final pictures up on Sunday. Today is we got the Minotaur. I'm gonna say is like 95% done. Kind of did work on fixing this. I got rid of that casted shadow. I want to do real quick. Just kind of wanted to connect some of these little bits here. But there are some things. We'll see. Like, I did the back. You can see like over here, I'm not happy with. I mean, overall, I think I should probably give it a quick wash with some wildwood or something, because this is going to be shadow. So you see it's going to be fairly dark compared to the front. So I feel like this needs to be darkened down. But we're going to keep that extreme casted shadow right there. Alright, I think that's... We'll see, let's just work a little bit on this here. Hope that was more than I wanted. Go over. No, that's fine. So I'm still debating if I want to like cover it with the wildwood. I mean, we do want it to be a little darker. Maybe instead I can just make up a quick wash of a bit of a gray. Let's see how this goes. In reality, this was probably something I should have like airbrushed on, but whatever. Get a drier brush here and just kind of try to remove some of this excess. Alright, you know, I might be okay with that. You can see what the color looks like right there. In the front, a little lighter, even though it's in shadow a bit because he's like hunched over. But then you flip over to the back where it's all darker. And of course that will be darker than that. Alright. I actually think that's pretty good. So I'm not going to call it actually done until later this month. I'm going to meet up with some other painters, get some advice on it. Yeah, I think that's a good shadow bit. Maybe just pop these things out, these laces, just a scotch. that's good.